So, welcome to today's webinar, everyone. The topic is all about managing a successful digital agency. The webinar follows on from last month's webinar that focused on scaling a digital agency, which is definitely worth a watch. It's on YouTube. I'm joined today by two experienced and very talented digital agency owners, Renee and Priesh. Welcome to the webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
If anyone has any questions as we go through the webinar, please put them in the chat and we'll try to cover them at the end if we have enough time. So let's kick things off with a question for Renee. For anyone that hasn't watched our previous interview, well, firstly, why not? Get onto YouTube and watch it. It's amazing. One of my all-time favorite interviews. But
Oh,
parking that to one aside, could you give us just a brief overview of your journey to becoming a successful agency owner?
absolutely. It kind of started with a life event where my dad passed away, and I kind of went back to my finance job in the banking industry. And I thought, I've always really wanted to own a business. What am I doing? So I started searching for things like franchises and just different opportunities. And I found Easy Apps. At the time, Eazi-Business was mainly an app development company. And I kind of researched them, and I did what you're doing today, just kind of, learning more about what they do and making sure they're a legit company. And I'm happy to tell you that they are. 6 years later, we still are offering apps, but we've moved more into like a full service digital agency with the assistance of Eazi-Business. We offer quite a few different services. So I'm excited to be here today and talk more about what we do here at True North.
Amazing. And what does the business look like today, specifically in terms of the number of employees and the range of products and services that you're offering?
Yeah. On average, I have about 6 employees right now. We're a little bit slim. We have five, which is kind of nice, less people to manage. We're still able to get the same amount of work done, but it just depends on the talent that you have hired. Um, and I'm actually back in the sales role. We have at times had full-time sellers working for us, but um, I'm really happy doing it. I enjoy meeting with business owners. And, I'm happy to say we have over 100 ongoing service clients. Some of them we're just hosting an app or a website, but we are doing other services for people as well, like social media, SEO, digital advertising. So it's nice to continue to build on those relationships and see those businesses change and grow. So we've definitely changed like our target market. Our target client started out as, kind of a small to medium business, but we've definitely morphed into working for larger organizations. Maybe they have multiple locations, at least, you know, 10 employees, and they're grossing over $3 million. Those are more the target market that we're going after.
And is that mainly down to your network growing over a period of time and you meeting more of these business owners, or do you feel like the market's changed a little bit?
No, it definitely takes a lot of time. I spent many years just being the networking queen. I was at a networking event at least every day, maybe two a day on a Thursday, because that's a popular networking day. So it really just started with shaking a lot of hands, having a lot of one-to-ones, a lot of coffees, learning a lot about other people and their businesses, and just sort of building that trust in the community, getting a few clients and examples of our work. And it was slow going at the beginning. But yes, it has changed. I can get meetings with larger organizations now just because we do have more of a physical presence here. We have a better understanding of our reputation, and I enjoy still working with the solopreneurs and the small businesses, but it is nice to have a few people that are a little bit bigger too.
Definitely, definitely. And I guess in terms of structure, you mentioned that you've got 5 members of staff that work for you, sometimes 6, depending on the month and how things are going.
Yeah.
Um, Priesh, you've been established in this space for a long time as well, and also built a large business here in London. What's been your approach to structuring your digital agency?
Yeah, so I'm slightly different to Renee, and I think both can work very, very well. It depends on your appetite, your growth plans, what you want to do, and where you want to take the business. But mine has been very much centered around working with consultants, freelancers, and through strategic partnerships, essentially. So I've built up in terms of our service lines now. We offer branding, websites, apps, and software development. The websites and apps predominantly come through all the Eazi-Business platforms that we have. But the branding and the software development, which have enabled us to get larger client bases similar to Renee, have been through strategic partnerships. And I only work with the same individuals on an ongoing basis. So you understand their systems, their processes, their costs, and how they work. But it's a slightly leaner model rather than having set full-time staff on the payroll. It is very much bringing in talent based on needs and requirements, based on the projects that are happening on an ongoing basis, and bringing them into projects as and when needed. The lucky and fortunate space that I'm in is that these contractors and partnerships have all pretty much turned into full-time roles, even though they're not paid full-time salaries because of the volume of projects that we bring on board. But it creates an agility in my business that I really enjoy, essentially. And so that's the sort of construct of how I've set up Digital Inspired, which was about 7 years ago.
So it sounds like you're both managing a team, but you're managing a team almost under different terms. So yourself, Priyesh, you're paying for services as required. It's generally how consultants work. And Renee, you're managing people come rain or shine, essentially. And
Yeah.
I wondered if you could both maybe give the audience some advice on managing those two separate teams. Renee, maybe you could go first.
Sure. When I started this business, I quickly realized that I wasn't going to be the person that actually made the apps or the websites. I enjoyed meeting with the people. I really wanted to grow a business, and I'm a very futuristic and strategic visionary. So, learning those things about myself has been just one of the greatest gifts that could ever have been given to me, honestly. And it gave me that courage and that freedom to hire people to do the managing and do the projects. And I get to come in and hear updates, possibly do some troubleshooting, some problem solving. But I have a COO that my agency director, essentially, she is managing all of my employees and any subcontractors. She also handles like our billing and HR and all the things that are very tedious and drag me down, make me feel very exhausted. When I get to stay in the creative space and in the motivating side of things, I'm a lot happier. So um, essentially, I have the agency director, I have a web developer, I have a project manager, a copywriter, a graphic designer, um, and then myself, which I'm basically just overhead at this point. I'm not really um, contributing to content or producing any of our websites or apps. So it's just a more of a oversight type of a role now.
I'm sure you're more than an overhead, Renee.
Mhm.
I had a follow-up question. So, a lot of entrepreneurs probably, I would imagine, dream of this idea that they build a business and then they pay a COO to manage the business for them,
Yeah.
right? The classic entrepreneurial journey.
Hmm.
What challenges did you face with finding the right person, and what advice could you give for someone who's at that point where they want to find a COO?
Yeah. I guess truly find out for yourself. I would take the Visionary Integrator test. That is a free test that you can do. Traction is the book that generated these concepts. So if you Google those things, you can find out if you're truly the visionary or if you're really the integrator. Like if you love getting projects across the finish line and, doing the nitty-gritty things, that's okay. Just hire someone to do the things that you don't want to do. Um, I don't know why, but I just realized pretty early that I just wanted a totally different lifestyle. Like I wanted to be able to travel and spend time at home. And I am very fortunate. I have a hardworking, talented, very smart COO right now. And I've been through two other COOs. So you just have to be like mentally determined that you're going to build a business that can run without you. It's not going to be without problems, and there won't be you're going to have days where you're back in that role because things change and people get offers for other jobs and maybe you can't afford to pay them what that person can pay them. So you'll have transitions, things go up and down, but if you're, dedicated to that concept and can delegate and trust people, I can't say that's not going to burn you sometimes. But you learn from all those mistakes and you learn how to um, better hire over time.
Really, really interesting response. And I loved the part where you talked about almost looking in the mirror and trying to identify, okay, what is it I really want to do? And how can I find someone that fills in those gaps? Because then even if it's hard, really
So
hard on
it's
some
super
days.
freeing when you hire someone and you're like, I'm not going to be here every day. I'm not the person that's going to do the stuff. And do you like doing all that stuff? Great. If you find the right integrator, it is like a match made in heaven because they don't make you feel guilty for being a visionary. They don't make you feel guilty for loving being on the strategy side and building relationships and research and development on new technology. Like, they fully support you in that, and they are very happy to do all of the other things that make you insane. So it's really just like a major, major gift and very freeing to find out for yourself that, like, my talents may not be day-to-day stuff. I really don't enjoy that anymore, but um giving yourself that freedom to say that that's not my thing anymore. Like it is just a wonderful feeling, and if you find the right person, you're not going to feel that internal guilt of not doing day to day.
Absolutely. So it's a truly win, help, win scenario, and you're really just giving someone else the opportunity that they're looking for.
Right. So it's a change in mindset, because I think we've all, if you're going to be a business owner, it's not like you're a stranger to hard work. I was on it. Any other job that I've ever had, I had my job done and I was asking for more work. Um I I can be a great employee, but I thoroughly enjoy being the visionary and the business owner now. So that might not be for everybody that's on this call. They may want to, make websites for people, and that's absolutely okay too. But being partner with Eazi-Business has given me the ability to, you know, grow and change as an agency. And, if it is a dream of yours to grow a team and, sort of have semi hands-off approach, it'll never be fully hands-off. But it is possible. So
Amazing, really interesting answers. And I'm going to pose the same question to Priesh. So any advice, I guess, for someone that's new to managing a team of consultants, partnerships, and freelancers?
Yeah, so well, I think the first piece is to build the right relationships, because it's often when you're thinking about consultants and freelancers, it's almost like there's a perception that you cast the net out. You might have five suppliers, and depending on who's free and available, they're the ones that you're going to be using to utilize. For me, I just use one particular person in one particular area, and that's been the case for about 6 years or so. So it is very defined in terms of the people that I work with. Similarly to Renee, when I first started, I was a jack of all trades. So I did used to do the sales side, the communication, the day-to-day, the accounts, the finance, even the builds, the website builds and the app builds. As it scaled, I realized where my sweet spots were. And I realized that for me, sales, building relationships, and thinking about strategic direction of the business was really where I enjoyed myself. And I've got into business because it's a passion of mine and I want to follow what I'm good at, and then you get the right people in place. And I've also been blessed to have project managers that run various departments within there. But when it comes to managing the team, I think setting clear goals, expectations, and timelines, absolutely key. If everyone is on the same page, if they know what to do, how to do it, and when to do it by, you shouldn't have any issues. It's really when one of those three fall and there's been a lack of communication is generally when things go a little bit awry. So I think clear goals and timelines are absolutely key. I also the consultants and the partners that I work with are like family because we've worked together for so long, and so fostering an air of collaboration and communication and openness, I think number one builds trust, but number two, it creates creativity and innovation, and we're all together trying to grow our independent businesses, but doing it in a very streamlined, authentic way. But also the final piece is utilizing data and technology, tools and platforms, CRM systems to manage projects, manage teams. I think without technology, you can have probably a load of Excel spreadsheets and a load of Post-its and a load of notes everywhere. So actually organization alongside all of that is absolutely key, because as you scale, that gets inherently more and more difficult. So I started that practice even when had only 2 or 3 clients. And I knew I didn't need the systems in place at that stage, but by building in good habits and good practice, I think that as you scale, it just becomes easier. So I would say they're the top pieces, whether it's employees or partnerships and consultants, to be honest with you.
So you talked about technology being this important part of managing consultants and partnerships and ensuring everything runs smoothly. If I was to come into your house with a hammer and smash up your computer, apart from being very angry with me, and you were to go down to Curry's and buy another computer, what would be the first piece of software that you load up onto it, or the first platform you log into?
So my key project management board for all projects that are ongoing is monday.com. We also use Trello and we use ClickUp. So there's probably 3 platforms that we use, but my helicopter view of all projects is monday.com. That is the first thing I check in the morning. It gives me an appraisal of what I need to do, what's high up on the priority list, what's lower down on the priority list, who's managing various aspects, because everyone's assigned to various things and everyone has visibility. So monday.com is first, but then it follows with a couple of other platforms as well.
And would your answer be similar, Renee, if I got on a plane with my hammer? I don't know if they'd let me on the plane with a hammer. I might have to check it in and smash up the computer. Would it be monday.com?
Definitely a good project management system. We use Dubsado for sending contracts, and it's cool because it moves them right over to a job, and we can manage that job through there. And we've just recently moved into that CRM, so we are still kind of learning it, but it's a massive improvement over what we were using. And it automates a lot of the steps for my project manager. So we're just, yeah, kind of layering in more automations and workflows through there. So it's going to be even more integral, but already it's a very important part of what we do. But Teams, Microsoft Teams is also basically something that we could not live without. So we're a Microsoft 365 organization, and like our email and Teams is how we're staying in touch with clients and internally with employees. So being able to hop on a call like this and hash out a project or go through a website and web copy. People are using Teams constantly. So between those two things, basically we couldn't function without both of them. But also QuickBooks because you got to have money.
Absolutely.
If I asked the same question to myself, it would probably be Zoom, because if you've only got that, you can tell other people to set everything up for you, right? Sure.
True. Yeah,
Surely.
exactly.
So I wanted to segue onto the topic of support, which is so important because if you deliver great support, you'll get great referrals and your customers become brand advocates. Now, when you're starting out as a solo business owner and you've got 5 customers, it's so easy to go the extra mile for people because they don't eat up a lot of your time. Renee, you mentioned you've got, was it 150 clients?
I don't know the exact number. It's somewhere between 100 and 150 right now.
So many you've lost count. Priyesh, how many customers have you got?
We just went over the 500 mark in December. So 503, I think it is now, 504.
Awesome.
503. Okay, so how do you deliver great support to all of those people? Priyesh, you can go first since you've got the most amount of
So
clients.
again, I'm going to segue to technology from the previous answer. I think it's absolutely critical. We've already touched on it, and we don't need to touch on it in too much detail. But I think that technology allows you to stay organized. It keeps things streamlined. You can bring in automations. You bring in systems. I think that systemization and automation of a business as you scale is really, really critical. The second piece, I would say, in terms of great support, is prioritizing communication. And I think it is a value base that is undervalued. I deal with so many companies on a day-to-day basis. This is not within Digital Inspired. This could be anything in my day-to-day life. And communication, I find generally, is maybe high up on their priority list, but in terms of an action list is low down. That you're almost sometimes having to chase for responses, find out what's going on, so on and so forth. I find over communication is absolutely key to great support, clarity, and making your clients feel as if everything is in control. They're fully abreast with everything that is going on. So that is the second piece that I'd say. And the third piece in terms of great support is creating a self-service resource area, FAQs, case studies, Q&As, etc., so that you've got content that is readily available for your audience, for your client base, but also for individuals within your team, whether that's employed or partners that are there. But I would also say that being often support is reactive, very reactive. A problem comes and it's about the problem comes in and you've got to find a solution to it. But also being proactive with support, I think, gives so many brownie points with your client base that you're almost going over and above, and you're delivering value over and above. That's when they start to really talk about you, and that's what I classify as good support. So if I had to pigeonhole it into two important things, it would be those two pieces really. So the over communication and over proactiveness is really my go-to.
On a practical level, Priyesh, if you got 503 or 4 customers, I don't think it really
I'll need
matters
to
at
check
that
it. I'll
point.
need to check, but yes.
Your last customer probably feels disappointed not to be included on the
Yeah,
list.
exactly.
Do you use a consultant to deliver support, or are you frantically writing away 1,000 emails each morning?
It's separated into teams. So when it comes to technical queries, if it is on the web and app platforms, I use Eazi-Business. It's a great resource. There's a whole team behind, and it provides a really good, strong foundation. On the software development side, I've got a project manager. So we only work with one company. Nitin, who's our CTO, is owner of that company, and we work with one of his project managers directly. So He manages all the projects on a day-to-day basis. Only when things get escalated and the client actually comes to me is when I need to step in. But actually, from a day-to-day, I don't need to do anything on that side of things. So no, I'm not frantically running around. It's having the right resource in the background to be able to manage things. I would say in the morning it is checking on status of projects, making sure invoices have been settled. Like Renee says, you've got to make sure that the finances are coming in, and checking for what prospects that we're going to be working with. Because, like I said, that's one area I absolutely love. Business development is my sweet spot. I absolutely love that part of my business. So the rest of it is a well-oiled machine because I've worked with these various people on an ongoing basis for quite some time.
Really interesting answer. And same question for Renee. What do you guys do at True North to deliver great support?
There's not a lot that I can add to what Priyesh has already said, so I'm going to echo everything that you've already said. But also something that we've implemented more recently is um, not treating everyone necessarily equally. Not every client is somebody that we have the ability to go above and beyond for anymore. But we do keep track of who is our 20% of our clients that give us 80% of our revenue, and we will do anything for those clients. So we will drop something else, put it further down the list for those clients. So we have a process of keeping track of those perfect clients that we don't want to lose. But we also have process in place where, if we have a website update that gets requested, we respond to them within 24 hours. Our goal is to have that update done within 48 hours, because otherwise those little web updates, those little projects can just start to like grow out of proportion. And so if you're just handling them as they come in, that is like a best practice that we've established here. And that way, even some of our, smallest clients still feel like they're a priority because you're in constant communication with them and handling their requests. It sounds crazy, but that is not something that a lot of digital marketing agencies do well. So if you can just do the simple things that people ask you to do, they're easy to please, to be honest, if they've worked with another agency over time. So um, that's about all I can really add to, how we're handling our ongoing support for our clients. But it is somewhat reactive if you can't you can't drop the ball on that proactive communication, letting people know what you're doing for them on a regular basis, because it almost feels imaginary what we do. They don't know how much work we're putting in on a weekly basis for them. So letting them know exactly what you have been doing on their behalf is really important.
I have to echo what Renee says. Sorry, Charles. We have a similar thing. It's a guaranteed 24-hour turnaround on all requests. And actually, what Renee said hit the nail on the head. I think it's genuinely not common practice in our industry at all. And so, as soon as they meet a digital agency that actually does respond in 24 hours and actions things, like you say, within 24, 48 hours, they're actually shocked by the quality of service. And I think that should just be best practice and normal, to be honest with you. It should be a sort of minimum milestone that is there. But it wins so much credibility for us as an agency that we've won projects off the back of just about our support level and our support systems that are there. So I follow an exact same process with what Renee described there, Charles.
Brilliant. And I wondered if we could explore this topic of proactive support for a moment, because most of the people watching the webinar today or on YouTube have probably never been on the receiving end of proactive support. I don't think I have, really, with many of the services that I've signed up to. What does that look like on a practical level? Like, what would you do to proactively support a business who's bought a website from you? Just as a really simple example.
I've got one simple example, really straightforward example. So when let's say it's a startup business, and so it's a brand new domain, brand new website. Google hasn't picked it up yet. It generally takes about 6 to 8 weeks, maybe a touch longer, for Google to actually pick up the website. I'll make sure someone in the team, with the consultants we use, it's noted on the day it goes live, and we check every 2 weeks to make sure, to check if it's being ranked, to check if certain keywords have been ranked. And actually, as soon as we notice that it's been found on search engines, particularly Google, we send them an email saying, good news, your website is now discoverable. These are the search terms that you're already being picked up on. I'm sure there'll be more in due course. They absolutely love it because they weren't expecting it. They weren't asking for it. SEO isn't, necessarily, that part of the SEO piece isn't necessarily a paid for service. It's just something you've got to wait for Google to be able to action, essentially. But the fact that we've been in the background consistently checking, and we literally update them as soon as they are starting to be ranked, shows that we're being really proactive with them and their business, really.
I really
Awesome.
like that. We might have to implement that. I mean, we're
Honestly,
doing the
Renee,
setup, and I mean, it ends up being tracked by Google. I mean, we know that that's going to work. We set up Google Analytics for our clients, and we um, do all the things on the front end, but we're not letting them know that we do that. And I think that's the key, is just letting them know how much you genuinely care about their business and about what you've done for them. Like, taking such great pride in it and letting them know that, like, we're not going to rest until we know that Google knows about you. So
exactly.
yeah, we do things like helping people set up like their Google business profile, without them asking. They don't know what they don't know a lot of times. They don't know that that's something you have to tell Google that you exist. So education is really one of our core pieces of like proactively, advocating for our clients. And then um, one other thing that we try to do for our clients is giving them an opportunity I do a biweekly Facebook Live called The Nexus, and we invite our clients to come on that show and promote their business. So, doing what we can to support them, from a digital side, but also from a personal side, just really caring personally about them. And that's one of the few advantages of having a physical presence, a physical team that people can come in and meet. They become very attached to their team. And most of the feedback I get is, and I'm sure you still see this too, Priyesh, that most of the feedback you get is about the people they work with, like,
Yeah.
I loved so and so. They were so great. And so really it comes down to people, even though we're a technology service. So
Definitely. And really interesting that you mentioned the part about having that face-to-face engagement with business owners as well in your community, because I think it just helps maintain and foster the right kind of culture. And it's also really helpful in terms of building trust. One topic I wanted to explore is in this interview is this idea of facilitating continued growth of the business once you've been established. Because a lot of entrepreneurs, I think, when they join Eazi-Business, they've got some great immediate channels in front of them. They can join a local networking group. You mentioned Thursday being the big day for you locally, where you can meet, the 20 or 30 business owners that attend the event. Potentially, you've got people from your previous life in work that you can connect with that own businesses. You've got friends and family members, but you're going to get to that point where you've got that established client list, the kind of client list that you've built, Renee, and that you've built, Priyesh, and you want to continue finding growth for multiple reasons. Your overheads are going to increase, you're going to lose clients over time. What's your advice on finding growth once you're established? So maybe once you're at the 3 year mark or the 4 year mark. And I'll start with Priyesh on that topic.
So it's a number of pieces, but I think that when you initially start, very few people know you exist. So it's and this business is all about relationships, and it's all about people. So as Renee intimated earlier on, networking, shaking as many hands, having as many coffees is absolutely key. So you're building up your brand, your reputation, you're building up your knowledge base, your skills, your expertise, but more importantly, people are finding out about you, and that you're creating touch points with individuals to say, hey, I now exist, I'm in the marketplace, and so that awareness is absolutely key. But as you start to scale and grow, I'm a big advocate of the concept of client first. So what I mean by that is that if everything you do is customer client centric, so I'm talking about the product that you produce, the aftercare service, the communications ongoing, even when they're signing with you through development and thereafter, you're looking at the amount of value you're trying to offer them on an ongoing basis. That customer centric, customer first approach is genuinely, for me, the most holistic way to scale. Because what happens is, as your client base grows, and if you have done all the right things, what you're doing then is you're turning your client and customer base into advocates, into fans of you. And what you're doing then is creating a sales team. You don't even know it, but you're creating as a byproduct your own sales team. And I mean, I've said it in a previous webinar. Last year, 80% of my of new projects came from existing clients. Now, that's not me going to market. That's not me talking about myself and saying how great we are. That's not me doing outbound marketing with social media, email marketing. That is very holistically work coming our way. And actually, they are very warm, strong recommendations. They're not leads. They're actually genuine, warm opportunities, because our client base has very much waxed lyrical about us. They've said, you know what, this is the only company you've got to work with. And so the presentation, the pitch presentation when we're going in, is not actually a sales pitch. It makes that process so much easier. So I would say that if you build the foundations right with a customer first, customer centric approach, as your client base grows, your your sales team naturally grows. So I now look at it and say I've got a 500-man sales team, because I know on a daily basis, if a requirement is needed and we can offer it, I've got other people talking about me. And for me, that has been the most sustainable way to grow. There are lots of other ways, by the way, Charles. I could be here for hours on that one, but if I had to pinpoint one, that's been my go-to and my most successful avenue.
So do you wait for people to come to you at this point, or do you send out campaigns incentivizing people to bring in referrals?
I wait for people to come to me now. When I started, it was extremely proactive. I wasn't as proactive as Renee. I didn't have the energy for 2 networking events a day, I don't think, but probably 3 or 4 a week at least. I was going, and I was out there almost every evening. I wasn't seeing the kids. I was getting my brand, my reputation out there in the marketplace. But now it's all about reputation, and the reputation of us as a digital agency has grown so much that actually, once you've got a pool of 500 clients, you don't need 500 clients to be talking about you. You probably only need 10% of that, 50 clients to be talking about you, and that starts to generate consistent opportunities on a weekly and a monthly basis. So it's almost transitioned from being really proactive to actually work coming our way. So and that's taken a lot of hard work, and it was never the case when it first started. It's been a journey to get there, but now at this number in terms of clients, as long as we consistently support them well, we are offering value on a consistent basis, we're communicating with them, and that's all 500 clients, I know that will, from a karma perspective, come back and really reap strong results and rewards. So yes, absolutely, that's the route that I take.
So very much focus on the customer, deliver a great service, and the universe will look after you in return via
That's
referrals.
that's exactly it.
There's
I
another
probably
angle.
should have said, I should have let you explain it because you summarized it in 10 seconds. So I probably
Yeah.
waffled on a bit, but great summation there, Charles.
Yeah.
So, Renee, there's another angle that you could explore when seeking growth, and that is getting more from your established customers. And
Yes.
one of the things you talked about, I can't remember if it was at the start of the webinar or before we started the webinar, but you talked about this concept of adding on additional services and taking those additional services to your current client base in order to deliver value and increase revenue. Could you give
Definitely.
me some practical examples of what that's looked like for your business and your clients?
The most recent and the most successful one has been adding on a programmatic advertising platform. So we're able to handle all types of ads in-house now for our clients. We can do search and social ads. We can do um, anything that's streaming, whether it's on connected TV or audio. We can do display ads, the little banner ads that you're seeing on apps and websites. So we can get our clients in front of a very hyper targeted audience based on interest, demographics, location. You can do geofencing. So these types of things are kind of where our relationships are building with current clients. So we're able to layer on more services and not have to continue to like go out and seek new clientele, even though obviously that is still a goal. Definitely echoing what Priyesh said. I no longer feel the need to have a seller. We get great referral leads. Some of the very best clients that we've had in the last, 6 to 12 months have been referrals. And they're ready to do business, like you're not having to chase them, follow up with them. I mean, that rat race can just become just mentally and physically exhausting, if you're trying to sell something to someone that they weren't even really ready for in the first place. Um, but if in a natural conversation that my project manager is having with, one of our current clients, just suggesting, well, what if we try email marketing campaign and, we can help you with that. And she's doing a great job of identifying those opportunities. Um, and she's even selling them herself now. So it's exciting when we get to like build on an already established relationship with a client. Um, that's an ideal situation for us because we're managing their website, possibly their SEO, their social media, and layering on ads. And so we can have a comprehensive approach to their marketing, their overall online presence, and that's going to be the most successful route for that client. So we find that to be the happiest clients as well.
So, if I were to buy a website from you, Renee, which I definitely would if I was launching a new business, or Priyesh, depending on my mood, um, would you wait until you've delivered the website, I'm happy with it, before having a conversation around something like display marketing or outbound email? Or would you try and deliver some kind of initial consultation process that enabled you to check off all of those boxes quite quickly? What's the better approach?
Generally speaking, it will come up in the initial conversation that it's something that they could use, but I give them that peace of mind that let's just focus on the website for right now. That's the critical component. We're not going to try to drive people to your Facebook page if they didn't even have a website. So, um, they do find digital marketing to be overwhelming. And so I think sort of spoon feeding them, one service at a time. Also, generally, these people are very busy. They don't have the bandwidth to be launching, 3 campaigns while they're trying to get their website built. So yeah, I find that the overwhelm, you don't want to add to that for any business owner or we love to work with like the head of marketing within a company. Those are the best clients because they have dedicated focus and time and appreciate what we do. And so they're so good at getting back to you with content and everything. So um, hopefully that answers your question, but that's our
Definitely answers it perfectly. And I'm a firm believer in always going the first mile before the extra mile. So,
yeah.
if you've got a
Show them
business,
what it's like to work with you, that they're going to get that communication, that they're going to be satisfied. We're going to make sure they're satisfied. They might not be happy like immediately. You got to work for that sometimes. Depends on the client.
I think especially if the head of marketing is also the head of HR and the head of customer service, and it's just one business owner trying to run around with three hats.
Yeah.
I think that approach just makes a lot of sense. Um, Same question to you, Priyesh, with Digital Inspired. Do you try and launch with multiple services when you meet with a client, or do you take this staggered approach?
So it's a hybrid approach actually, and I'll echo what Renee said, that I think if you focus on the core problem of which they've come and communicated you to, and you solve that first, and you offer great service, great end product, the whole purpose is to build trust. And once trust has been built, then being able to pivot into various different avenues and various upsells becomes infinitely easier to do so. So giving an example of websites, I like to try and offer a complete solution on websites so that it's all handled effectively by us in-house. So essentially, on websites, we offer branding, the web design, copy, and we'll bundle that solution all together. So they might just come to us for websites. So that is a natural add-on that we bring into the web design process. All of it sits together, and then it creates an end product that, number one, wows them, but most importantly, you're taking the time, energy, and stress away from them, and it feels like a very seamless process. Similarly to Renee, once trust has been built, assuming you've delivered a great product and a great service, there are upsell opportunities that are there. We go as a company more down the tech route rather than the marketing route. So this is where we bring in software development. So software development can be small to very large projects that are there. But effectively, software development is, there's a pain point in the business. Can you increase efficiencies? Can you better communications? Can you increase sales? And how can you leverage technology to do that? So once we've built out a website, there will be always conversations once trust has been built of, that's working great, but this is not quite working well. And if there is an angle where technology can help facilitate a solution, that is the angle that we always go in. So very, very similar to Renee, but with a slightly different product offering, essentially.
Really interesting. And I like the angle of using technology because ultimately you can go beyond the marketing department with that. It can be about logistics, it can be about HR, it can be about the delivery of services. So it just gives you a more broader scene to play with. I'd like to ask one final question to both of you. I'm mindful of the time. It's 10 to 3 here in the UK. Um, Renee, why does partnering with Eazi-Business make sense for someone that wants to operate a larger digital agency?
Well, first and foremost, I think it's just a huge weight off of your shoulders initially to have somebody to ask questions to. We still lean on Eazi-Business for, questions even with developing websites. And the fact that you guys, handle the publishing side of things for us, it allows us to focus on other things. And the other benefit, I think, of working with you is the fact that you're continuously trying to layer on new products and services that, can give you different lines of sales with your current clients, that's also very helpful. It's just been a great partnership overall it's a very symbiotic relationship because our success is your success, and your success becomes our success because you are able to give us additional technologies and, upgrade our app development platform. And um, we're learning together, and I truly feel like you guys partner with us in that way that you listen to, what our pain points are, and you try to make improvements. And that's just something that, to be quite honest, I don't have time for, like I can identify an area that needs improvement, but the fact that you guys kind of take on the testing and bringing on new platforms and making sure they're the right platform for us is, I can say I genuinely have appreciated that so much over 6 years.
A really great response. And before I ask the same question to Priesh, I just wanted to say, it's a pleasure working with you as a partner because one of the things I've always appreciated is the feedback that you give us. And actually, it's that feedback that enables us to deliver great services because we at head office aren't on the ground every day working with local businesses, small business owners. But you are over at True North and Digital Inspired. And actually, by having that connection and that sense of community with the partner network, it enables us to really identify those great opportunities and hopefully also try and minimize some of those problems as well. Priyesh, same question for you.
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, it is the foundation that is provided to partners like myself. The launch and the start, and that's covered in various aspects: the training, the mentorship, understanding the platforms, the technologies, so on and so forth. You very much feel like your hand is being held all the way through. And actually, if you had to go away and start your own digital agency, I think it would take many, many months to get to where you need to be. Whereas and I found when I joined as a partner 7 years ago, the launch was instantaneous and I was able to go out and sell and bring clients in pretty much from day one. So having the stress, the time taken away from that launch process and building a strong foundation was really, really key. I think the platforms and the constant innovation, looking at what's out there in the market, what would be beneficial to our partners, as Renee said, in terms of the best web platforms, app platforms, SEO platforms, what can we do with social media, so on and so forth in our product lines, and giving our partners the best tools to be able to succeed is absolutely key as well. The access to the support team, the design team, the development team, and the fulfillment team, the publishing and fulfillment team. There'll be some people who just want to start by themselves as solopreneurs. There'll be others like myself who want to scale, but more on a partnership level. There'll be some that want to scale like Renee with having dedicated employees in a team. But having that team behind you for any support queries, to publish products, to build and design actual products if needed, and take that work away, and having that support in the background, I think that's what is probably the most critical part to the whole piece. And it's arguably the most undervalued piece, I think, when I first joined, it was the most undervalued piece. Now, 7 years in, it's the most highly valued piece that is there. And I just think it's a very, very streamlined, simple, well executed, and cost effective way to launch a digital agency.
Really good answer and really detailed as well. We haven't had any questions come through from the audience, and we are approaching the 1 hour mark, so I think we're going to wrap things up. But I will end on this point, and that is for anyone who's watching today and is interested in managing a successful digital agency, The very first step is to start one. So please do get in touch with our business development team and we can walk you through all of our packages and options for getting started. I'd also like to thank both Priesh and Renee for giving up your time today. I've been looking forward to this webinar all week. It's my weekly highlight, and you haven't let me down. Looking forward to reconnecting with you both in the near future. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.